All right, so here we go. We'll try out some automation again. So last week we were trying with clearing a blocked flag. And I think we had some challenges last week because I was playing in Ancient Circle. Now, Ancient Circle's got an old workflow in it, and I'm just remembering now, when you move something to done, it actually fires off a different type of event. At one stage, we looked at the types of events that we can create through system admin, system config. So we're going to jump across and use Jaya's project. I think it might have been Native Birds, so let's jump in there and go under project settings. This is where we find automation. So under automation, let's see if we've got our rules in there. Okay, so we had clear flag and assign flag. So let's just go into clear flag and see how it's configured. So Pete, Jira Automation was added or made available to Jira Cloud a few months ago. It was used to be sort of a standalone plugin, and now it's available across free and paid versions of Jira. There's some different limitations on how much you can use it, right? So I think for the free version, you can do some global rules, which means you create a rule and it's available in various projects, but there is limits on how many times you can run those rules and other things. So, and you find the automation configuration under project settings, all right?
All right.
So let's go into clear flag. And we remember that a rule, an automation rule, consists of a trigger. So something that fires off the rule to run, and that could be manually triggered, or it could be something like a transition or updating a field. Then there are conditions that it will evaluate, and that can be a particular value on a field. It could be JQL, and a range of different things. And then you do an action on it. So what we've got here, and this one's called clear flag. So our trigger is when an issue is transitioned to done from any status, then it will check, actually here we've got a branch. So it's going to look at any linked issues which are using the blocked issue, the blocked linking type. It's restricting it, and we'll go through this in a bit more detail, right? It's restricting it to just the Native Birds project at the moment. And what
voice gone.
Sorry,
Yep.
you can hear me now?
Yep, better.
Yeah, cool. I'm just going to turn off Bluetooth on my phone because I forgot about that. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so on this one, we're not actually doing anything at the moment. Oh, we're clearing the flagged field. And then we're adding a comment to it. So we cleared the flag value, we cleared the flag on issue key value. So you can remember we were talking about JSON values last week and the plugin for looking at JSON of a Jira issue. And using smart values, we can substitute a value into a string. So in this case, we've got cleared the flag on, and it should insert the issue key value. And then it would end, so it's not going to do anything further. So let's maybe just try this one out, and I'll jump into the backlog. Actually, let's go to the active sprint. And I think we might have had this one blocked initially. Okay, so this one was blocked by nab13, okay? And we've moved nab13 to done. So nab13, if I move that back to in progress, and I'll add a flag on this one. Okay, so in our backlog, we've added a flag. The priority field is now hidden and replaced with this flag, and the item is shaded in yellow. And so if we look in here, we can see it's blocked by nab13. And this is where we struggled last week. If I move this one to done, it takes a few seconds for the automation to run. And so now it's removed the flag, and it should have put a comment on as well. cleared the flag on. Now, the smart value substitution isn't working at the moment. So let's have a play with that. Okay, so we've got that. And it might be, I might just take out value perhaps. So publish our changes. Okay. So now if I move that one back again, and I'm going to put the flag on this. And I didn't know until last week with adding a flag, if you do it through right-clicking like that, then when you add or remove the flag, it will give you a comment box in there as well. Whereas if you add a flag or clear a flag through the ... or ellipses menu in the actual issue view, it doesn't prompt for the comment, which is interesting. I don't know why they've got a different view there. Okay, so now that we've got that there, we can move that to done again, and we'll remove that flag. And it hasn't finished executing yet. Put the flag on, and now it's got the link in there, right? So my smart value, just the way that I had formatted it in here, issue.key.value, didn't work, but putting the issue key in worked. I think there's a whole heap of documentation on automation for smart values. And so you can do mathematical functions and all sorts of stuff in there, but you can imagine that you could build up a sophisticated string or comment or description, and you could also use that same logic to set a summary. If you had an epic and you wanted to copy across components and fixed versions and things to stories, when you create stories under an epic, that could be another scenario, right, where you could build up quite a lengthy summary and description of the card. Okay, cool. So that one's working. I'm just going to cancel that. All right. What are your thoughts on what you'd like to see now? Any ideas on what we should play with?
Yeah, I've tried to create like housekeeping automations, which could pick up on all tasks or issues in the backlog in the past, let's say 2 months ago, that has not been assigned to anyone. And it will give some sort of reminder to the creator and to review it again whether it's still needed. Otherwise, maybe they can action it appropriately.
Awesome. So have you created that in the...
Yeah, it's under APR.
Okay, so let me... so it's demo 02. Let's get that space back again. So under demo 02 and APR, was it?
Yep.
So... all right, good work, Jose. Okay, so we've got housekeeping. Yeah, no worries. So if we have a look through this one, do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, it's basically, excuse me. So this is an automated run every 30 days, and it will pick up any issues in the backlog the past 61 days. Sorry, 61 days ago, older than 61 days ago. Yep. And the status is in backlog and there's no assignee at the moment.
Yep, okay.
Yep, so that's the first step.
Awesome. And is that PR or APR?
Yeah, that's the code value for APR project, I think.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, and so I hadn't seen that before, but you can validate the query. Created started day. So maybe if we go into our, let's have a look at our backlog here. And
I think every issue was created on July, I think.
Okay, let's add in, we'll add the created field to the cards. So if we go card layout, and we're going to add our created date. Go back to our board. And so we got July, 30th July. Okay. So July, August, September. So it should be 60 days. Yeah. Okay. So
Maybe you just need to play with the conditions.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's add in here. So project equals PR and created is after 61 days prior to today. The status is in backlog and the assignee is empty. Okay, so we're just going to add in here assignee as well and status. So we can add up to 3 fields, right, on the card layout.
Mm-hmm.
So unassigned, yep, 30th of July. Okay, my maths is really bad. So we've got July, August, September, should be 60 days. That's interesting. Created, it's greater than 61 days. So if we put 31 for a second. Okay.
Try now. Start of day, replace start of day with now. No. Sorry. You can leave out the parentheses. Just replace start of day with now.
Oh, now. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me try a bit.
Is it? All right. So just put that on there for a second and switch to basic. So we've got okay. So project is PR and it's created date more than 61 days ago, and assignee is unassigned. That's essentially what we're saying, wasn't it? So our status in backlog. Okay, so they were the conditions that we're after, weren't they, Jose? Project is APR, status is backlog, unassigned and created more than 61 days ago. So it's assignee is empty, project PR.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, yeah, and so we can just go less than or equal to minus 61. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so let's copy that across to our automation rule. Validate the query. Awesome, 5 issues. So there we go.
And then it will send email to. You can edit the. Yeah, you can edit that.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so yeah, it'll send an email to you, and I've just shown your email address there. Sorry. Okay, and the issue key is greater than 61 days to be reviewed, archived. Awesome. Okay.
And then, yeah. So basically, if you saw 5 issues from the result, then it will send 5 different emails. So
yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I wonder if we copy this into, if we add another one and add a comment to the issues as well. Actually, let's log it, okay? So for all the actions, I know we had a quick look through these last time, right? But there are different actions that we can take. So we can look up issues, so we can run JQL, we can create a new issue, we could edit it, send an email, which is what Jose's done. We can transition an issue, so we can move the status. We can also assign or clone. We can add a comment on the issue, and there are all these other things that we can do here. And under advanced, we can log an action. So if we just want to try something out, but we don't want to actually update the issue or whatever, then we can log. So maybe let's paste that in here and save that. Come back here and I'm just going to prepend that to what we're going to log. I wonder if we can do a \n new line. Not sure if that'll work or not. Cool. So if we run the rule, and then we go to the audit log, housekeeping ran at 12:57.
Yep.
Awesome. Look at that. Well done. That's very cool.
So yeah, I think the idea behind this is normally, product owner keep adding stuff into the backlog and then keep spiling up, and they work on the most important stuff, and then somehow, the issue that was created a month ago has not been touched since then, and then it's sort of like remind them to revisit those issues whether it's still needed or not.
That's awesome. Yeah, good work.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have a play around with automation at all? Pete, Kudzi? Sorry, not Pete, Ignacio and Kudzi?
No, I didn't get a chance to play with it.
Okay, no, that's all right. No stress.
I'm just a learner here, so I'm
Yeah.
observing.
Yeah. No stress.
We're all learners here.
That's right. Me too. Okay, so let's maybe try creating a new rule, and then you guys can tell me what you'd like to say. Okay. So so we've got a new trigger here. Okay, and we can look for when a field value is changed, when something gets a comment put on it, when an issue is created, when it transitions. So when it goes from in progress to done, or from backlog to in progress, or back the other way. We can also look for when the issue is assigned, commented, created, linked, issue moved, etc. What can you think of? What's been a pain point for you with Jira? Maybe Pete, can you think of a situation where it's been difficult to update Jira, right? Or there's some administrative overhead, and you think, gee, it'd be good if Jira could do this or it could do that. And it could be around when a sprint is created or started, or when a sprint gets completed. For versions, when you create a fixed version, or you release a fixed version, or you undo the release of a fixed version. And it could be a hypothetical, I suppose. If you unrelease a fixed version, then it might mean that you've got to look at all the stories again. So you might want to put them all back in progress or something. I haven't played with these ones. So DevOps, when a branch gets created, and this would be if you've got integration with something like Git or one of the Atlassian tools. Build failed, build successful, etc. Scheduled is what Jose just showed us before, so to run on a particular schedule. And there's also a manual trigger, so we can add that into the menu. Any thoughts, or just happy with whatever at the moment? All good? Maybe let's just go with the manual trigger for now. And we'll say that anybody can run this, right? And now if we add a new condition, so advanced compare, so smart values, we could use that to compare two values, and you could probably do a mathematical thing there. You could use that for risk rating calculation, perhaps, if you wanted to. If else block, we could use that. We could check for values of particular fields. We can run JQL, or we can look for related issues via JQL. And that could be really, there may be no data connection right between the issue that we're looking at and what's important to us. So if we use JQL to write a query, what am I trying to say there? Where there's no data or logical connection between issues, but from a business perspective, it could be. So it could be, for example, if something happens with one of our delivery tickets or a development ticket, we might want something to happen to a marketing thing. So there might not actually be any physical connection between the two, but we might want to search for a particular JQL and do it that way. So maybe let's go with an if-else block. And under the if-else block, we can add conditions. And again, we get the same issues, right? So it could be, might use our JQL here. So if we said, yeah, let's go with priority is greater than medium. Validate our query. Okay. Yeah, we can add more conditions in here. So we could do more of the more JQL sort of stuff, or we could say an issue field, and here you've got access to all of your different fields, right? So we could say if the assignee is a particular person, or we could go with components, and we haven't got any components yet. So maybe let's go to fields. Okay. So if we perhaps created a new component in a minute, and so we had, okay, thought it might have done a wild search for me. All right, so let's not use components for now. All right, we could say description contains. Let's say if our description contains, oops, if I can spell properly, house. Okay, and we could force it to match case. No. So we're going to say anything that's greater than premium, sorry, greater than medium, and keep that. And the description contains a house. Then we could actually go further. So if it equals a house, then we can do a new action. So here we could create a subtask, perhaps, in the current issue. We might call this clean your house. All right, so we can save that. Then we could do other things. We could actually branch off. So maybe if we branch, and from the current issue, no, we're going to go into each of the subtasks. And okay, so for our subtasks, then we're going to do a new action. Maybe here we can add a comment in the subtask. Okay, and you can just go on and on, right? So you could continue to then for each subtask, if that subtask was blocked, for example, then you could go and do things for the issues that were linked to it via that blocking link. So it's very, very powerful that way. Okay, so if the priority is greater than medium, then we can go and change or set the description. Sorry, if it has house in its description, then we can go and create subtasks. Otherwise, if the priority is not greater than medium, then I need to, going to get rid of that new component. Okay. Now I can add an else. I don't want to worry about adding a condition, so I'm just going to save my else. I'm going to add an action, and I'll put a comment here. No need to clean house. And okay, let's call this house cleaning. All right, so I'll turn our rule on. So it's going to be manually triggered, and if the priority is greater than medium, and it's got house in the description, then it'll go off and do this other stuff. So let's give that a try.
Paul, question. Sorry,
yeah.
Paul, question.
Yeah.
I get a bit thrown sometimes when I see this or dividing. On the left-hand side, we've got add component, which is you building the query, but on the right-hand side,
Here.
Or, yeah, what is that or? You either do something, you add a component, or you switch it on.
Actually, that's a really good point. I'm not sure whether it's talking about the left-hand side and the right-hand side, or whether it's saying you could add a new condition or add a new action. That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good one, Atlassian.
Yeah.
I just kind of ignored that previously, but that's a really good point. I'm not sure whether it's talking about maybe all four different type of actions here. Maybe it's saying, well, you can go and add some more functionality to it, or you can turn it off.
Because it doesn't matter how much on the left-hand side of the order. It doesn't matter how many actions you take, whether it's new conditions, new actions. You build the richness of the automation. Then there's just that one or. Anyway, look, I don't know.
No, it's a really good point. It's really bad UI because I can't turn it off here anyway. Let's give them a thumbs down. Yeah, why not? All right, there we go. Okay, That's a really
Sorry.
good point, Ignacio. No, that's good. That's good. All right. So we need to have something in our board which has house in our description. So let's go and create a new one. So it's going to be nab. Yeah, it can be a story. How's our house looking? Is our summary. Okay, so add that to the sprint. Native birds.
I think need to have a description as well, because you're looking for house in the description.
Good pickup. Good work. Yeah, I deliberately left that out. Not. Okay, so under our three dots up the right, no, it wasn't, sorry, rules executions. I was looking in the wrong spot. So for the manually triggered rules, on the right-hand side here, there's a section automation. And if you click on that, I'll go into subpanel. So here we would have all the rules that are available to run manually in here. So if I run that, it will tell me that it's sort of like a mini logger down here, I guess, or a console. Issue updates available. Awesome. Okay, so it doesn't refresh the screen for me, but if I now go into this one,
it won't fill up anything. Yeah. Oh, no need to print house because the priority is lower than medium.
Yeah, good one. Yes, yeah, again, I was just testing it. That's right. So.
Oh, yeah, you put the else condition, I forgot.
No, you're right. Yeah, so that's why I put a comment in. So now if I change the priority to medium or greater than medium, wasn't it? So we move the priority to high. Now if I go down to rules execution and I run it. And drum roll. Come on, Jira, you can do it. There we go. All right, so now I need to refresh. Update that one. There we go, clean your house. Awesome, we're in the subtask. Cool.
I think it's very useful. I think the real world scenario that I could think of when someone adding a development task, then you can automatically add a peer review task, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of thought, hey, this is cool, and there's things we can do with it. So I showed some of my team at work this functionality, like automation, and obviously I'm a real novice with it. And one of them just picked it up and ran with it. And so she's created automation rules that when, like I demonstrated, when you move something to done and it blocks, or it was blocking something else, clear that flag off, etc. She's got another one where deployment tasks will automatically be created. So for some of our products, we've got, we need some manual deployments to be done. And so for a story, when you create it, you can run a manual task, which will then create a deploy to UAT task, and another one which is deploy to production. And if you moved that task, the story from like UAT back to in progress, then that will create another deployment task automatically. So she's done all that sort of stuff. Setting card colors as well. I think she's setting some flags and stuff so that you can see when a deployment task is ready to go. So when the story is moved into ready for testing or something, then the card color of the deployment task will turn to green. So then our DevOps person knows that, hey, I can now go ahead and deploy this task now. So it's really cool. Like she's done a heap of other automation tasks as well. But she could see the benefit straight away of a lot of the admin type stuff that she was having to do, and when people might not have been updating their Jira boards because they're busy doing other things and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's been brilliant to see.
Yep.
Okay, now do we want to keep playing?
I think it's enough.
That's enough for that. Yeah, okay, no worries.
I don't know about the others.
Yeah. Pete, Kudzi, Ignacio?
I'm fine. Look, I'm fine to go with the flow. Yep.
I'm fine.
Yeah, no,
I was just wondering, are we able to touch on Confluence? It's been a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know, what everyone else is thinking, but I tend to be using Confluence a lot these days because that's the nature of my role. Of course, linking it with Jira, but it's all those stakeholder engagement activities that I do from an OSC or CM perspective. But I don't know if you had any further quirks or tips that anyone like myself could continue to leverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of different.
I vote with Kudzi. It's a good idea to just flip back to Confluence, and if that's going to help Kudzi, I think it'd be good. Yeah.
Just question to Paul. Have you discussed the / command with / Jira command or some other stuff that you can do it under the page?
So under a Confluence page?
Yeah, under the Confluence page. Yeah, sorry.
Not in great detail yet. So you're talking about all the macros and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, macros. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we started playing with macros a little while ago. So let's see. We had retrospectives, and I think we started playing with status report demo. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we had, a little while ago, and it has been a while, hasn't it? So we started playing with sprint pages and stuff, and Pete, some of this might look familiar to you from when we were working together with the kind of layout and automating different things, right?
Yep.
And we were talking about a hypothetical scenario of managing sprint goals, right? Ideally, we would just have one sprint goal and everybody focuses on the goal in Scrum, and there's no need to sort of track a multitude of goals. In reality, while the teams are maturing, they do tend to work on several goals at once. So if we want to be able to attribute effort to particular goals and track how we're going with that goal and have we actually finished it yet, that's one case where you might want to do it this way. So in Jira, if we go into ANF, sprint 13, goal 1. I haven't been looking after my sprints very well. So we set up this fixed version in Jira for ancient furniture, where we had 5 issues in our sprint goal, and these all contributed to the sprint goal. And you can see that sprint hasn't gone really well. Okay, 30 days overdue. Ignacio, you've got one with you that was reopened, mate. You've got to get on that. We've closed one. All right. So if we go into our active sprint 13, goal 1. Sprint 13.
Sorry, Paul, do you mind increasing the zooming out a little bit?
Yeah, sure. A bit better?
Thank you.
Yeah, no stress. Yeah, that's right, sorry. Okay, so if we look at our sprint, I'm just going to jump back into this one again. Oh, man. Okay, we'll just close off these automation ones. All right, so we had some in here. Card causing a black screen and then start up Windows. So that was ANF 57. So if we move ANF 57 to done.
Let me quickly confirm something. So each of the goals you created a fixed version for each of the goals. Is that what you did?
That's what I did, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So if I go into releases here, actually I'm going to go into backlog for a second. And yeah, so yeah, maybe good to walk through this scenario again, right? So for sprint 13, I had created these 3 goals, that's right. So I've got fixed versions here for tracking each goal. So if I look at sprint goal 1, then it was these cards here, which are contributing to goal 1, so ANF 99. It was just arbitrary cards that we picked, right? And then we had goal 2. We can see that we've got goal 2 here, and we've got a couple of items in the backlog which are not yet in the sprint. So I need to add those in. And this would have been from us just playing around with Jira data after I'd run that demo. And then goal 3, we've got these ones here. So with that, if we look at our fixed versions. Then it'll give us an overarching view about how we're going with progressing towards completion of that sprint goal, right? And our scenario was trying to construct sprint pages for managing sprints. So if we go to, let's maybe step through these pages and we'll just revisit what we've got here. So imagine we've got an organization where at the top level, we've just got this sort of cover page, I suppose, which is saying, okay, here's the structure of our sprints. We start on a Wednesday and we finish on a Wednesday, or finish on a Wednesday morning and then start on a Wednesday afternoon. We run our daily scrum every other day, and we've got backlog refinement booked in for the Monday before a sprint finishes. All right. Then beneath this, we would have a summary of all of our sprints. And so this is pulling data from Confluence. This is a macro here. And if we edit this page, we can see that this is using a page properties report. And you can also see that I'm using the old editor view here because the new editor, I think, is still a bit clunky. Okay. And so that just pulls data from the pages that are beneath. So if we look at ANF Sprint 13, that's the page that we're looking at in this summary here. And the columns that we can see here, so we've got sprint name, the sprint start date, sprint end, the sprint objectives, and the sprint goal. They are being pulled from attributes of the child page. So over on the left-hand side here, we've got sprints as the parent page, and then we've just got one child page at the moment, ANF Sprint 13. And so if we look at what Sprint 13 is made up of, okay, we can see those columns that were on that other page in the table, they relate to the rows that are in this table here. So I've got sprint name, sprint start, sprint end. We can see the values on the right-hand side here. Sprint objectives, and then sprint goals is here. Now, this sprint goals part here, if I edit this page, we can see that that's another macro. So that is including the content of an ANF Sprint 13 goals page. Okay. So if we look at the sprint goals page that was being inserted in here, all it is just pulling data from Jira Live, right? So if I edit this one, and stop me at any time, right? If you want me to go back over and just explain things a little bit more. So this Sprint 13 goals page, all it consists of is a link to the actual releases back in Jira and a Jira macro. And so if we look at that Jira macro, we edit that one, then it's fixed versions in 10.031, which is the ID of the fixed version. You could also put the fixed version name there, and resolution equals unresolved. So what this is showing us is the number of issues that are remaining to achieve those sprint goals. All right, any questions so far?
Well, just to recap, fixed version is synonymous with release, correct?
That's right. So Atlassian, in their wisdom, refer to it as versions under this panel on the left-hand side here. And when you set that value, then we've got fixed versions and effects versions. Right? And I think this sort of came from production support type approach in years gone by. You might have had a bug which affected a version that was in production, and you were going to fix it with another version, right? So yeah, they call it versions here, and fixed version and affected version here. But on the left-hand side, it's called releases.
And the concatenated fixed version, that is a keyword search, right? In the macro.
So the macro is actually looking at the ID of the version. So if I hover over here, you can see down the bottom left-hand corner. It's a bit hard to see perhaps, but there's 10.
There it is. Yeah, fixed for version. Yep.
Yeah, and if I go in there, we can see it in the URL. So 10.033. So that's the ID of a fixed version. The reason that I would use the ID rather than the name is if I change the name, the text of it, it'll break all the Jira macros. If I use the ID, it's primary key. It's never going to change, right? So yeah, good question. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. We've got versions and releases in Jira. They are synonymous. That's right. Okay, so And so the question might be, okay, why would I go and create a standalone page like this? Well, we might want to talk about our goals when we're doing our sprint planning initially. When we get to the end of our sprint planning, we might want to say, okay, what are the goals that we've come up with, and what are those goals composed of, or what do they consist of, which issues? We might want to, in our product backlog refinement session, we're probably not going to be talking about sprint goals because it's looking forward to the next sprint. In our sprint review, when we're demonstrating what we've built in a sprint to our stakeholders, we probably want to refer back to our sprint goals. And then in our retro as well, perhaps we might want to look at our sprint goals and go, all right, how do we go? And refining our process. So that one page, sprint 13 goals, has been inserted into each of those other ones. And so the power of Confluence, if you remember, when we copy a Confluence page, you get all of those macros copied across, and it's very easy then to just to modify them for our future sprint. So hypothetically, we've got 7 minutes left. So if we wanted to set up a page for sprint 14 or a series of pages, then I might go back to, we've got our parent page here. All right, so let's show you how that would go. Open up my goals, planning meeting notes, backlog refinement, sprint review, retrospective. I'm going to make a copy of all of these, right? So our ANF sprint 13, I'm going to copy that one. And while it's going, I'm just going to copy these other ones, get them going as well. So I'm just on the right-hand corner here, Ignacio, there's the 3 dots, then down to copy. And I'm just going to start that for each of these pages and have them going in separate tabs because sometimes Confluence is a bit slow to load pages, etc. Okay, so while they're copying or getting ready to copy, I'm going to go back to the first page, which is still loading. And if Jira does this to you, sometimes I'll just click in the address bar and just do it again, and then it comes up quickly. I don't know why it's sort of hangs like that sometimes. Okay, so we're going to make this one sprint 14, and so if 13 was from the 12th of August to the 25th of August, and we're starting our sprint in the afternoon, then it's now going to be from the 25th of August to 2 weeks later. So it's going to finish on the 1st of September. This was just text here. Now on objectives and goals, I know this meetup's not for Scrum, it's for Jira. A product owner might go to a sprint planning session with their objectives, but then collectively the product owner and the team would arrive at what the goals are for the sprint. They might be slightly reshaped from what the objectives were of the product owner. That's a whole different conversation. We can see here, so I've copied the parent page, and we can see here it's still pointing to ANF sprint 13 goals. If I was going to change that to sprint 14, of course that doesn't exist yet, right? It's not going to come up in the list. So I'm just going to cancel this for a second until I've copied the child pages. And the rest of the things that are on this page here, there's a macro which will show all the child pages there. We don't need to modify that because it's just going to look at whatever child pages are beneath this one. And there's Jira roadmap macro there as well that we might need to change. So I'm just going to leave this one here. Actually, I'll publish it while I copy the other ones. So now we've got sprint 14 goals. And of course, the link to the releases and the query will be wrong. So I'll need to go and update in Jira. And we've got our sprint planning meeting notes. Oops. And going to make that 14. I'm going to go 2 weeks later, so it's going to be the 26th. I know some of these dates are not lining up. They don't quite make sense, but anyway. This overview here, that's just pulling from a page which gives a page somewhere else which just explains sprint planning, so I don't need to change that one. Our meeting goals, of course, we would come up with a new set of goals. Our discussion topics, we're going to start off with the same sort of template. We would have different attachments to the page, and then our sprint goals included page is going to be different down here as well. I'm just going to publish that one for a second. If I publish my Sprint 14 goals, now I would be able to access that from these other pages. So let me go and fix up the goals. Instead of being Sprint 13, I'm now going to look for Sprint 14. And there it is in the list. The content's going to be exactly the same because I haven't fixed up Jira yet. All right. I'll publish that one. Product backlog, refinements. So that's going to be Sprint 14. We're going to go 2 weeks later, so it's going to be 28. Okay. No other changes needed there. We've got our sprint review meeting. So Sprint 14. We're going to go 2 weeks later, so it's going to be the, well, these dates are all messed up. 7th of September. We're going to change our included page to be Sprint 14 instead of 13. Won't worry about changing anything else there. Retrospective, we're going to do the same thing. And this way, you can actually come up with pages in advance for all your upcoming sprints if you wanted to. So you could set up your fixed versions and everything like that as a Scrum Master ahead of time for your team for a long time into the future, and just have all that infrastructure there ready for them to use when they get to those sprints. And our status report demo, I'm just going to call it demo 2. Instead of August 12th, we'll go 26th. And this is where we were demonstrating, I think, a sample sort of status report. So we can go 414. And I'm just going to leave this query as it was, I think. Sprint in open sprints and issue type. Okay, so we just had some JQL there for that one. All right, so I'm going to publish that. And with 1 minute to go, we're going to go back into Jira. And we're now going to set up our Sprint 14 goals, right? So go create version, ANF Sprint 14 goal 1. Not going to worry about dates at the moment because we're under time pressure. Goal 2, goal 3. Okay, so we've got 14, goal 1. So our ID for that one is 1038. We've got 1039 and 1040. So 38, 39, and 40. So now if I go back into my sprint goals page here, so was it 38, 39, and 40?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got 38. Uh, 39.
Right there, Paul, is that a left or right click to get that edit?
2 seconds. Okay, in here. Yeah, that's a left click. So when you left click on any link in Confluence, then you get these options. You can either go to the link itself, you can edit, or you can break the link. Yep.
Thanks.
So 38, 39, 40. So now if I just edit my JQL as well, so now I've got 38. Now, if I update that, of course, we've got no issues in it. 39. Okay. And 40. Okay, save that sprint goal page. Okay, so now these pages are all set up, right? And we can see here, well, hang on a second. We've got all these sprint 13 pages, then we've got all these 14 pages that need to go to under ANF sprint 14. So we can just grab that, drag that down to 14. So we've got planning meeting notes, we'll just move that down as well. Then we've got backlog refinements, I'm going to move that down. And we've got review meeting notes, retrospective notes, and our status report demo 2, right? So now all of those are under the right parent page. And now if I go into that parent page, the macro that pulls up all those child pages is automatically populated, right? Remember we had a page tree was the macro. So that one's pulled in there as well. And now if we go into Jira, so just going to jump across to, okay, so we've got our sprint review page here, right? If I refresh that, now I've got sprint 14. And because I've zoomed out a little bit on the page, so I'll just go back to 100%. So now we can see there's nothing in there. If I go back to Jira, whoops, go back to my board, NF, okay, refresh this page and we'll see these sprint 14 goals items in there. Okay, so I've got all these sprint 14 ones. And if I show my backlog, righto, so now we can imagine that we're doing sprint planning. Of course, a lot of these are already done, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if we were doing our sprint planning for sprint 14, then we could say, okay, these ones here, they contribute to our sprint goal 1. Right, we can see that updates over here. We could say, okay, for the second goal, we've got these ones, drag them across there. And goal 3, that's a big one. We're going to grab all of these and put them across. Right, now imagine it's the end of the sprint. We go into our sprint review, which is this one here, refresh the page. And it's going to pull the data and populate in here. So any of those, if we said, all right, so sprint goal 3, if we want to have a look at the actual release itself and see how we're going there, we can see there are 9 in that fixed version, 5 are done, 4 are left to do. We can see the ones that are still outstanding. The other thing is the query here, if we open that up, and that will take us directly into our advanced search, our advanced filter in Jira. All right. I know that was a lot. We covered a lot in there. Yeah, could you go for it? Oh,
Thanks,
sorry.
guys. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop.
No worries. Sorry, I couldn't hear you there for a minute.
No, that's all right. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you again. I'm going to have to stop. I've just got to jump into another meeting.
Great suggestion, Kutsi. Great suggestion to revisit Confluence. Thank you.
Yes,
good
I
refresher.
think so. I think we need to do a little bit of it, spend some time again in Confluence next week, if you don't mind, Paul and everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm using it a lot these days, so sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no worries.
And then I start going to stuff, and then I can't remember how I did it, so it'll be
good stuff.
And it does take practice, right? And it's good to go back and revisit. So so maybe, if any of you have got any questions about this, like if you rewatch this recording, just to play back slowly what we've gone through today, because I know that there was a lot in there. Jose, I might need to replicate some of these into the demo instance that you're using for Jira and Confluence. But just let me know if you want to see some of that stuff in that space or that instance. And yeah, we can continue on with this next week and playing from there.
Right.
Take care, everyone. See ya.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks,
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Team. Bye for now.